Welcome to the Banana Republican podcast. I'm James Gorey. Hey, the meltdown of the left to quote unquote the far right, which we'll get that in a second. It's really not the far right, but the meltdown of the left is happening. It's happening in a lot of places. You're not hearing that much about it unless you look for it. But if you go to the legacy news, yeah, it's not going to be there. But it is happening. But not everywhere, but a lot of places. US, UK, Europe, South America. It's a mixed bag, but it's much more prevalent than people want to give it credit for. Now, in the US, for example, we're unwinding leftist gerrymandering in Texas and California, and probably other places too. And that's not going well. People are seeing what's going on. People are seeing the judicial activism. They're seeing the elected Trump administration being stopped, prevented from imposing its, or from carrying out its policy, quite frankly, that they were elected to do by the country. So in Texas and California, there's a big gerrymandering war going on, kind of a battle in terms of how districts are drawn, the ups and downs of that. The bottom line there is that Republicans will probably gain seats in Congress, certainly in Texas, probably in California as well. And the left-wing tendencies of Newsom, Gavin Newsom, I should say. Sorry, that was a Freudian slip. Of Newsom is that more and more people are leaving California. More companies are leaving California, and California has the highest unemployment rate in the country. But nationally, the conservative movement is doing well, and the Trump administration itself is proof of that. But if you start counting the victories, it's pretty impressive. The whole Doge thing with gutting USAID, all the Social Security, all the pork, all the foreign programs, a lot of the foreign money is going overseas, et cetera. Then congressionally, trade bills that have been passed, the tariffs, direct foreign investment in America, which the Trump administration is negotiating, is exploding. So tons of money coming in, trillions and trillions of dollars coming in. That means factories. That means jobs. That means wages going up. That means tax breaks as well. Not from the DFI or the direct foreign investment, but from Trump's big, beautiful bill. Not a perfect bill by any stretch, but it gets the ball rolling. Including in that is the energy policy, which is going to be huge. That's part of the EU-US Trump deal, trade deal, where they're going to buy $450 billion worth of energy, and they're going to invest another $1 trillion in American industry. So these types of victories are justifying and highlighting the acumen and the legitimacy and the correctness of Trump's policies. And Trump, of course, he's called a populist, he's called the far right. Really, what it should be is conservative populism or popular conservatism, however you want to phrase it. But more than that, in addition, on the world stage, the U.S. obviously right now is brokering peace deals, not just with Ukraine and Russia. We'll see how that works out. It may be that Putin doesn't want a real deal. Maybe he wants to buy time. Maybe he wants to humiliate Trump. A lot of reasons for that. A lot of reasons he could. I gave some of those reasons in a recent podcast. But Trump and the Trump administration has been brokering peace deals around the world. Just a few. Cambodia and Thailand brokered that peace deal. Rwanda and Congo, we brokered that peace deal. Obviously, the Abraham Accords. Ethiopia and Egypt, a peace deal. India and Pakistan, a peace deal. And there's more. And that's American leadership. So you don't have to talk in terms of ideology or ideological terms. You look at results. Look at trade, look at economics, look at tax policies, look at these efforts to project and deploy American leadership positively. Peace treaties are generally good things unless you're with a negotiation partner that intends to break it. And that could be the case with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. We'll see. But American leadership overall is being felt in the world, and it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Interestingly, there's talk about Gen Z shifting to the right a little bit, conservative. Now, not all of them. There's some of it breaks down in male-female demographics, which is interesting. That's fine. You can get through a life with a conservative or liberal spouse. I do, It's fine. It's all good. It's just makes it interesting. And the fact is that a lot of Gen Zs is seeing how bad it was under Biden in terms of inflation, in terms of loss of jobs, in terms of violence in the cities. No one's safe. Housing is through the roof. No one can afford a house these days, especially in Gen Z. And so there's a huge suck factor, for lack of a better term, that the left is kind of stuck with right now. The Biden left, the Obama left, the Pelosi left, the Gavin Newsom left. All these leading people, the Kamala Harris left, all these leaders of the Democratic Party, the leftists. And you know what? There's a sense, I think, a lot of the younger generation say, you know, I don't think letting 20 million immigrants into my country or other countries abroad, especially Western countries, is a good idea. It doesn't help. It doesn't really help the native populations here who pay taxes. It certainly doesn't help them. You know, crime's gone up, wages have gone down, housing has gone up, and these immigrants are getting all kinds of benefits that the rest of us don't get, right? The rest of us just don't have. So that's in the U.S. alone. People are waking up, and I think it's 50 or 60% are in favor. It depends on the geographic area of these deportations. So there's a general sense that we're moving in the right direction, and conservatism and populism. Now, MSNBC which is now to rebrand itself to MSN Now, I think, or Meow, whatever it was. But they're going to call us far right. They're going to call anything that's not left far right. Nothing is ever far left, though, if you know what I mean. So, but regardless of the nomenclature, they call it what they want because they have an agenda. But caring for your kids' safety, having a job, not having huge inflation, not having immigrants replace people out of apartments and so forth, and not having them get all these benefits. Having a country that you recognize, that's a popular preference. Has nothing to do with right or left. It has to do with people want things. People want their good country, their good society. Good. They want it to do well. And the U.S. hasn't been doing well for a number of years, and now it is doing well again. I think we're turning the corner. The impact of these tariffs are happening. There's some inflation, but at the same time, we're going to have a lot of investment, and we're going to have a lot of jobs. And that's a big, big deal. And a lot of manufacturing. And, when you bring a factory in, it's just not the factory. It's a subsidiary economic activity around it. It's stores, it's malls, it's gas stations, it's auto repair shops, it's housing, all these things that get built up around towns that have a new factory come in, and it happens. So it's a multiplier effect, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And that's what's happening. Now, in the UK, they're seeing a new kind of sense of frustration, I'll put it that way, with, is it Starmer? Is that his name? Something Starmer. Whatever his name is. He sounds German, looks German. Keir Starmer. He sounds German. Maybe a good little Nazi. Who knows? I'm just riffing here. But recently it was 750,000 signatures for new national elections to dump Starmer. Why? Because he's that bad. Things aren't going well in the UK right now. You can see reports of strange things going on. Ladies arrested for silently praying. Some people are accosted by the police in their apartment for having a conversation or praying for some policy or regarding abortion or whatever it might be. Criticizing the immigrants and the immigration policy of the UK is apparently, I haven't been there to see it, and it's hard to know what's real with AI these days, but if you are a critic of what's going on in the country, and you express that opinion, especially online, apparently the UK is arresting people for that. Is that true? I've seen it. I've read it. I don't know if it's true or not. It's hard to know. Meanwhile, immigrants are being released after attacking Brits. And I think Britons are very fed up with that. Now, the UK, as they know it, is dying. And I think Charlie Kirk pointed out at Oxford recently. The UK is dying. Muhammad is replacing Peter as a name, as a British name. That's just a fact. There's no way around that. Um, that's not an opinion. That's the polls are there. You can look them up. So the UK is changing. Its culture is changing. So it won't be the UK anymore. And as a result, the UK Reform Party could become the largest party in the land. In fact, it's already its most popular. It's at 27% polling. I think the Conservatives are like 22 or 3, and Labour's at 21. So not huge differences, but they're growing, and the Reform Party is already talking to Starmer about allowing the party to appoint peers in the House of Lords. That's led, of course, by Nigel Farage. He's the leader. He was the driving force behind the Brexit, and basically he could be the next prime minister. None too soon, by the way. So we'll see. But there is that upwelling that we haven't seen in the UK in a long time, and that can't be ignored. And Europe is the same thing now too. Now, depending on who's writing the article, again, it's right-wing populists or far-right are now being normalized in Europe. Those are disparaging terms, when really what it is popular people, conservative populism or popular conservatism, however you want to put it, where people want to return back to a normal life, where they recognize their country, they recognize their language, they recognize the policies that are protecting the country and protecting the economy, and that's happening. People can only be blinded for so long. They can be fooled for so long, and whether it's in the UK, in the US, in Europe, populism really comes about because people have a sense that the elites aren't on their side. They're on some other side, whether it's a globalism or it's a cosmopolitan notion or whatever it might be. They're not one of them anymore. They're not just a normal UK guy, a normal bloke in UK parlance. Okay, they're not just a normal dude in California parlance. They have other interests, other allegiances, and they view the rest of us as something less, a lot less, by the way. Okay, that's who they are. They just do. So, and by the same token, they're more than happy to import much of the third world, much of Asia, Central Asia, the Mideast. Anyone who's different than Western European or European culture, same here, they want to import them into those European countries. And they're doing it. So in the UK, women are being arrested for praying, and other people apparently are being arrested for online opinions. So we'll see what happens. But in Europe, we're seeing ruling coalitions or elections favoring quote-unquote right-wing or far-right populists in Belgium, Croatia, Finland, Hungary, definitely, the Netherlands. Geert Wilders has been a long time presence on that side of things. Slovakia and Sweden, and even recently Poland. Karol, I'm going to butcher his name, Nawrocki, won the Polish presidency in Europe's latest election this week. So this highlights and underscores a trend that quote-unquote populism, popular conservatism is more like it, is making a comeback, as well it should. Nobody wants the World Economic Forum, no normal person wants the Normal Economic Forum, or the head of the EU, the European Union for that matter, to have so much power and to run things. Nobody wants that, except the heads of the EU and some international, multinational globalist leaders and so forth. They want it, but normal people don't. And it's fair to say that I think the election of Trump in the U.S., the return of Trump, as it were, Trump 2.0, has had a big impact, huge impact under Trump speak, right? I think that's undoubtedly true. And while the critics will say, well, normalization of the far right, I would say it's normalization of normality. Yeah, normalization of decency. People don't want a foreign element driving, controlling, destroying, and replacing them. They don't. That's just reality. And it's never the other way. You know, Europeans or Americans aren't flooding the Middle East. They're not, no one's flowing into Syria right now, or Algeria, or Egypt, or Iran. Nobody's just itching to taking a boat and risk their lives to get into Iran right now. You know why? Because those societies, as bright as their people are, they're just basket case countries for the most part, especially in the Middle East. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Too many of them are, and their cultures are unable to adapt, unwilling to adapt, and their notion of civilization is typically in that area of the world Islam, and that's what comes with it. And Europe and the UK are seeing that firsthand, and it's a big deal. And it's a big problem too. So, normalization of decency, sovereignty, culture, economic growth, safe streets, safe kids, good schools, great education that people can afford life. That's what wants to be normalized. That's what people want to get back. Okay, it wasn't always this crappy for people. It wasn't that long ago, and people can talk to their grandparents and say, yeah, the man worked or the woman worked or they had one income and they had 2 or 3 kids and a house and life was good. So those are gone. Those days are gone for right now. People are trying to get them back, and interestingly enough, it's also happening in Latin America. Now, Milei from Argentina, he's kind of a character who wields this chainsaw. He's kind of the Argentine Trump, for lack of a better comparison. Very bombastic, very theatrical in terms of his personality. And he's turned Argentina around fast. And they said it was going to destroy the country. He got rid of all this internal kind of deep state, as it were. And people are using the deep state or the elites interchangeably. I want to talk about that for a second. A deep state really just means this global coordination between governments that are not elected. Whoever is in power, they continue. The bureaucratic state is another kind of phrase for that. But whether it's in the UK, Europe, the US, Latin America, there's a lot of coordination, a lot of connections, a lot of economic connections, a lot of financial connections. So it's not just in one place, it's everywhere. And that's what happens when you have bureaucracies that never die and you have lifers in there that don't have to answer to anybody. It's part of the evolution or devolution of institutions. They become corrupt and with money and power and greed and all these things. So that's what's going on. It's happening in Chile, it's happening in Argentina, Brazil, not so much. Mexico, not so much yet. Although it looks like there is some movement there in terms of the cartels, but I wouldn't expect too much because the cartels, by and large, run the government to a large extent. And Europe, even Portugal and Germany have seen some populist gains, and as is the EU parliamentary elections have seen some populist gains. So people are standing up, and so it's not all about. I did this podcast only because the narrative is so negative on Trump, so negative on conservatives, so negative on Christians, so negative on anyone who has any traditional view of life, and it's painted in a bad light, with a broad brush. So just want you to know that you're not alone. Many people in the world are of the same mind, and we'll see how things go. Things are certainly trending in the right direction in that area. Other areas, not so much. But in that area, I think people are waking up, and we'll see what the outcome is in the UK, in Europe, in the US, and in Latin America. So that's it for today. Hey, if you like the channel, if you like this content, please support the channel and subscribe, share it, like and comment. Let me know how much you like it, how much you don't like it, what you think, what I think, what, you hate what I think, you like what I think, whatever it is. Just subscribe, please, and build the channel for us, and we'll see you next time.